How do you save your relationship? Through the years, I've had so many couples come into my office and say things like, I feel like a roommate to them. I feel like they're not interested in me. Cases of infidelity have become more and more common over the years with the insurgence of the internet and people meeting online. People feel desperate to save their relationships and they're not sure where to start or what to do. Sometimes the other person isn't interested in working on things and they're left alone to work on the issues. They don't know what to do. Today, I'm going to talk about 6 strategies you can consider in trying to save your relationship. So stay tuned. Hello, I'm Dr. Brian Clemens. I'm a licensed mental health counselor. My channel is focused on helping you have the best relationship possible and helping you be the most mentally healthy individual that you can be. How to save your relationship is the question that I'm going to be addressing today. One of the realities you're faced with when it comes to saving your relationship is whether your spouse is interested in making things better as well. So if they're interested in making things better and you're interested in making it better, that's really the best case scenario. Each person can own their part of the problem and begin to address the issues in the relationship. More often than not, however, I get one partner that comes in and says that their partner is not interested in addressing the issues in the relationship. So today I'm going to talk about what you can do as an individual in the relationship that might influence the relationship. There's so many things that you can't control, like how your partner behaves, what they do, whether they choose to work on the issues or not. But you can work on yourself. There are many things you can do that will influence the relationship. I'm going to share 6 things today that will help you consider different things that you can do that will greatly impact you as an individual and make you healthier, and also potentially influence your relationship in a positive way. So the first thing I want you to do is consider why you got together with your partner to begin with. When you do this, you remember the dating years that you had, the things that you were drawn to, the characteristics that you were drawn to in your partner. Maybe they were kind, they were funny, attractive. I want you to remember what drew you into this relationship to begin with. What is that narrative? I want you to consider the best times that you've had in the relationship. I want you to consider some of the really tough things that you've been through and you were able to get over together as a team in the relationship. Maybe you have children together and adjusting to each child is always a struggle. It always involves teamwork. So remember what brought you together to begin with and what the strengths have been in your relationship thus far. You may want to have this conversation with your spouse and remember those days when you first got together and what was working for you back then and what happened. What's the narrative that led to the polarization that you're feeling, the distance that you're feeling from your partner now? The second thing that I want you to consider is I want you to stop rehearsing the negative things about your partner, but instead replace those negative thoughts with empathy for them. Let me explain. A lot of times when marriages are suffering and struggling, you can get into a pattern called negative sentiment override. What that means is you begin assuming the worst about them in any given argument, any given situation. You tend to see the negative. For example, your partner might do something nice for you and you assume the worst. They may do the dishes, clean the house, give you a gift. A person with negative sentiment override, who's assuming the worst, may say they're just doing that to manipulate me. Or they're doing that just to get on my good side. They really don't care about me. Ruminating on all of these negative thoughts about your partner is commonplace with a strained marriage. You can take responsibility and rather than assume the worst about them and rehearse the negative things, they don't love me, they don't care about me, or whatever it is you're thinking about. Instead, replace it with empathy. When you're empathetic towards someone, you try to put yourself in their shoes and you wonder what must be going on with them. I wonder why they're sad in this relationship. Have they said things during our arguments that I'm not hearing? What are their complaints? How can I see this situation from their perspective? What are their needs as well? It's a difficult thing to do, but practicing empathy can make you more benevolent towards them. It can soften your heart. It can bring warmer emotions to your partner and to the situation, and that will greatly influence your relationship. The third thing that you can do is focus on your part of the problem in depth. This is something you can do today. This is a drastic change that can happen immediately. When you focus on your part of the problem in depth, you may get a piece of paper out or a computer and write down all of the things that you think you are contributing to when it comes to the problems in your relationship. For example, maybe you've been really critical to them. Maybe you haven't been very available to them. Have you been really stressed out? And have you not been paying attention to them? What is your part in trying to connect to them or make bids towards them? Have you given up in making any effort in the relationship because of your negative thought processes of how they don't care, how they don't love you? When you take responsibility for your part of the problem, that is a huge piece of this. In fact, when I see couples together, this is a part of our process often. We will identify what each person's part is in the problems, what they need to work on. Because most people in a relationship are pointing the finger like this. They're saying, you are the issue, and if you get better, I'll get better. That simply just doesn't work. You can see my videos on codependency, and codependency doesn't ever work. If you're trying to change that other person, or if you're just, if only they change, I'll be happy, that kind of thinking will never work or never help you. So journal in depth about what's going on. Get some feedback from those close to you, a good friend or somebody who knows you really well, and ask them how they experience you. Ask them what they might be seeing. You might be surprised. They may be seeing things in you that you're not seeing, like how harshly you treat your partner or how disrespectful you can be with them. Sometimes we have blind spots that we just don't see. This is a great conversation to have with your partner as well. How are you experiencing me? Is the question. What things do you see in me that I'm not seeing that pushes you away from me? This is really hard to do because it requires you to not be defensive, but just to listen. The fourth thing I want you to consider is whether or not you sweep things under the rug as a couple. What I mean by this is, do you have a tendency to not talk about issues and sweep them under the rug? This dynamic of a relationship is very destructive. It's a dynamic that I see that's related to vulnerability, to things like infidelity in a relationship. When people feel like they can't talk with their partner about the problems going on, they're vulnerable. I've heard this story a million times where a person isn't intending on being unfaithful to their partner, but they meet somebody at work or they meet somebody online and they're easy to talk to. And it meets this need of them feeling accepted, them feeling heard. And there's a vulnerability there that can happen where a relationship begins. It's subtle and it's gradual, but it can end in an affair. Sometimes it gets caught at an emotional level through texting. Sometimes it goes farther than that. You don't want to be the kind of couple that sweeps issues under the rug and doesn't talk about them. If that is you, you need to rock the boat. And when I say rock the boat, I mean bring up the issues, bring them up gently and respectfully, but do not ignore them. Take it from me. It is a big red flag if you have this tendency to not talk about issues and sweep it under the rug. The fifth principle I want you to consider is to take responsibility for you making bids towards your partner. What I mean by that is you want to take responsibility for making bids to connect rather than waiting for your partner to come towards you and provide you with all of your needs. A bid for connection basically means that you're sensitive towards your partner and you're sensitive towards their needs and you move forward towards them. So a bid could be, can I have a hug right now? A bid might be, let's go on a date on Friday. A bid might be, hey, come sit with me and cuddle. There are thousands of bids that couples make over the course of a year. And one of the reasons why your marriage may be suffering is that there are lots of bids that have failed, where the sensitivity in the relationship has gone awry and there's more callousness. You may be struggling because your bids have been ineffective and you may say, I've been trying and trying, but my partner just doesn't notice them or they're not interested. The wind out of the sail goes away. Your motivation starts to lag. I encourage you to take responsibility for yourself and begin making bids towards them. Every time you turn towards them and make a bid, it's an opportunity for connection. If your bids seem to be failing and you feel like they're disinterested in you, talk to them. Have a conversation. That's very important to do. The sixth thing that I want you to do is seek professional help. Even if it's just you, there is tremendous value in seeing a therapist for what you're going through. When you go to therapy, you will be talking about what you can do to change how you're thinking about the issues. You're talking about your needs, strategies on how to express those needs. Therapy is a wonderful resource. I know I'm biased because this is what I do for a living, but I see it help people tremendously, even if their partner never comes in. In fact, sometimes the partner sees changes in their spouse by coming to therapy, and they'll join them in a session, or it will motivate them towards change. When you change yourself, that has a tremendous capacity to influence the dance of your relationship. When you're more respectful, when you're loving, when you take ownership for your part, it's no guarantee that it's just going to fix your relationship, but it has a tremendous capacity to change not just you, which is the most important part, but also influence your relationship. Thank you for watching this video today. If you find it helpful, please click on like and subscribe and the notification bell, and I look forward to seeing you next time.